So Matthias made it quite short. He's told me in the schedule, okay, showing continuous update of my emulators. These are 2 pages and then I could quit, but I have some pages more. So what's new? Continuous development of EMU 10 to EMU 28, 42, and 48, 71. Some of you haven't, or for the first time here, you know, of course, EMU 42 or EMU 28, but may have not ever heard something of EMU 10. EMU 10 is an emulator for the low-end Pioneers 10B, 20S, 21S. But the ROM images for these calculators are not freely available. Cyril, the professor, asked this year in the forum for contribution material he want to get free from HP, but I think we have no real chance that we could have these ROM images in the public. Same situation in EMU 42. There we could emulate the 14B or the 32S2 or the 70B2, sorry, 90B2, but also asked for these ROM images, but I think so. Some words. Currently often get mails about EMU 28, say I downloaded EMU 28, then I have a ROM image from the HP 28S, but it wasn't working. What I'm doing wrong. So I want to get to the names, the name conventions I used. EMU 48 was the first one, so it was an emulator for the HP 48. Quite simple. So then I added the HP 49. So there was a beta version for the beta testers with the name EMU 4X. Okay, but I didn't like this name. First and second. Reputation. EMU 48 has a very good reputation at this time, and so I thought, should I change the name? And then people ask, oh, is this new software or what's happened? I say, okay, let it be. It's EMU 48 as brand name. One version later, I added HP 38. So I was glad about this decision that the new name should have been then EMU XY or EMU 3489 or something like that. So I was glad about the brand name. EMU 42. Very easy. The first calculator I emulated with this new emulator was the HP 42. Then later I added 17B and so on. And of course these quite similar. And then I added the HP 28S. So what had the HP 28S to do with the HP 42? It uses the same internal chip, the 1LR2 Lewis chip. And so I integrated the HP 28S in this emulator. When you have a look at EMU 28, this is the emulator for the HP 28C. The HP 28C uses complete different hardware. So it's using one LK7 CPU, using one LP4 centipede chips, several ROM chips, aware of the number, but it's complete a new design, so it's a separate emulator. So, einschalten. So, what's new? All emulators got PNG background image support. So the emulators need a background image, and so far they have the BMP, Windows BMP format, and GIF format. GIF has the advantage that you could compress these files, but it's only useful for 256 color images, and so PNG is an enhancement for compressed bitmaps. I recognized this is drawing board 5. This is transparent cycle on some PCs with Windows 10 graphic cards and so on. It was quite slow, so I entered the design, so it's much faster on these PCs. On the other PCs, which has no problems, there are no real speed difference. Emo42, I fixed the bug in the load app object, loading 41 focal programs. Normally it was, that's the interface when you want to load and save focal programs. No, the 42 has normally no interface, and when you want to put the programs, export the programs or import the programs, there was no problem when you're in the 42 live, but you have also the possibility to load 41 focal programs when they are not when they have no synthesized code, or libraries are also inside the 42. But the problem is there are knobs inside in the code. That may be because we have not packed the code, or that's more important. On the 41, the focal programs need a knob between two numbers when they're just behind. The 42 needs a knob behind every number. So when I import a file from the 41, I have to insert knobs and remove the other knobs which are for pack commands. So the distance between local labels or between labels could change. I was fixing the global chain. The global chain are the global labels, the global ends. They already calculated these offsets, but I forgot the local offsets for local labels, and so when I loaded a 41 program, the program may not run. So meanwhile, I clear or release or set these offsets to null. So at the first one, the 42 recognized that these labels have no offset. The calculator recalculates the offsets, making the new offset or using the new entries. And on the second one, then he has the calculated offsets and then run faster for the second or third time. That's really only important when you do benchmarks or so on. So let it run the first time to recalculate the offsets, and second time you have the offsets, and then you could do benchmarks. Save object capabilities. Normally I save programs from the first global label until the global end. But you may also create programs which have no global label. So there's programs possible which only have a global end. With the new save object, you see these also in the catalog that you can able to save these on the disk. Emo71 improved HPL device capabilities. 2 years ago, when I was sitting here and showing you Emo71 Windows, it only has controller capabilities, so it's not possible to use this thing as device. Last year, 1 year ago, I published the first version with device capabilities, and in spring this year, I added do bug fixes, added parallel poll as implementation, and so you can now use Emo71 also as device. So when you can put, for example, two Emo71 Windows in the loop, both are controller, and then on one you type in restore IO. The first frame you send is IFC. This is sent over the loop, and the other 71 recognize this IFC frame and switch to device mode. And then you could transfer programs from between them. Jean-François made an example in his tutorial where how to transfer data from a real 71 to his emulated Emo41, and so these examples are still working with the new Emo71 version. Virtual HPL devices. EL Video. Jean-François ported a program called Reversi from the 75 to the 71. This is a basic program which has about 1,000 basic lines, plus minus. So when you do a plist with EL pair, the plist took about less than 1 second. When you do a plist with EL Video, the old version, it took about 180 seconds. 3 minutes. And when you do such a thing on a real device, it took no longer. So somebody was very angry about this slow program, and so I was able to reduce it to 8 seconds. That's not 20 or 30% faster, this is 20 to 30 times faster now. EL Video got the same implementation because they're quite similar, so we have also the speed upgrades in this version. EL Blinky, this is a new program. We have a look on my website, you see this program already. EL Blinky, where I was searching for a virtual printer with a Roman 8 character set. I had no program, but then I thought, okay, I have my HP 82-240B simulation, and why not create an interface reading the data from the HPL and then transmitting the received data to the EL printer, the EL printer. But the 71 has to use a 7-bit character set. So it uses Roman 8 characters, but not in the expanded ASCII table above 128. No, it uses a non-printable character area for these characters, and of course it's totally incompatible with the Roman 8 character set of the HP 82-240B printer. So I added something, a transliteration, so you are able to translate one character into another. But when you have, for example, the possibility or the problem, you want to remember escape sequences, which are maybe sent, then you have no chance, because then you have to translate it, the complete thing, and you can only translate one character to another. So it's very limited. I saw when the EL Blinky was a weekend project, it looks like this on the left side. This is the program EL Blinky. We have here the settings for the virtual loop. Above we have the settings for sending the data to the printer. And on the right side we have the printer, the text window of the printer. And what we see is a listing from a 41. EL Pilsim. This is a program I published last year. It is it's for as extended program, or to extend Jean-François EMU 41, 71 DOS and so on with an external loop, to expand, to use the external devices in this loop. And this is a program, this allows this. The problem was when it has no modify button. When you start a program, all entry edit fields are great. So it's not possible to change the HP link, for example. So when you change the link and so on, you have to stop the complete simulation. But then you also stop the serial pipe server. And when the serial pipe server is closed, the virtual link also break down. So you have to restart the virtual machine to go this thing running. So the new version has a so-called modify button, and when you now press modify, the loop above is still active, but you can modify the HPL link settings thing. And then you can change it and you can say start, and then could continue. I will show you this in a simulation. So I want to talk about EMU 41, EMU 71 DOS, and EMU 75 DOS. Running them in our environment with an external HPL device loop. So, okay, these emulators are for the 4170, 175, created by Jean-François. Begin with this several years ago, as I found a version from 41 and 71 from 1997, quite long. They have an interface to the HP 82903A, that's the ESA card for ESA PCs. Jean-François added an interface for this, and then he later added an interface, a combat port interface for his pillbox with 9600 baud. So when you have a pillbox with firmware 2, you have no possibility to edit by this direct way Jean-François planned, about Windows 2000 or something like that for this calculator. These are 16-bit DOS programs, so they need a DOS operating system. Or on Windows, when you have a 32-bit Windows, you can run them directly. But when you have now, not many, have a Windows 64-bit OS, you have no chance to run it directly. So we need a special environment. DOSBox, or when you go to the website, they say that it's an x86 emulator with DOS, so it's really a virtual machine with DOS, integrated DOS. So, or you're downloading a virtual machine and use and install DOS, that's the other possibility. When we go 2 months before, there was no chance with DOSBox. DOSBox version 0.74, published for the late 8 years, had a very serious bug, not working in our environment. Since August, end of August, September, when they published a new version, 0.74-2, this version is working. So we can now work using DOSBox for this environment instead of a virtual machine. So I have a screen here. This is using VirtualBox. This is an Oracle product, a virtual machine. Then I installed FreeDOS. This is the output window of the virtual machine. This is ELPair. I just opened the console. That's from VirtualBox. This is what I started. I opened the serial configuration port here, so you see, okay, so I capture serial port and then redirect it to a open named pipe. I have two possibilities. I can use named pipes under Windows or TCP/IP. In this particular case, I'm using a named pipe. This is the program we see before. This has here the named pipe, the interface, and when I'm doing here, we see here the trace output from the connection. And here I done a cat7. Cat7 is the catalog of this EL drive. So this only is possible. So, and furthermore, you're here on the virtual HP EL side. So you can use the program EL Pillbox using a Pillbox with version 2 and can access real hardware also. And the other thing is the VirtualBox from Oracle or DOSBox also run on 32-bit operating systems, and then the redirection, the comport redirection works also. So when you want to have a working PC with a working serial port, just do an emulation also on 32-bit operating systems. This works perfectly. So what is a virtual machine? When you have a virtual machine VM, a virtual machine is a software running in a host simulating the PC hardware. The host is normally physical hardware running a recent OS like Windows 10, Linux, Mac OS, or something like that. The VM itself is the hardware simulation with a BIOS only. So the only code in this machine is the BIOS. And so you have to install an operating system. In this particular case, this is DOS, and we call this operating system guest OS. So on the one side we have the host, on the other side we have the guest OS. So I want to, because it's important for us, many VM software have the possibility to redirect a simulated COM port to a server running on the host. That is what I'm using to redirect the COM port. The Oracle Pillbox, Virtual Pillbox, is a basic package license on the GPL. You have the possibility to add a more recent USB 3 ports and some other things. They have a special license which then needs a commercial, you have to pay on commercial environments. This is running on 32-bit and 64-bit Windows hosts, has a serial port redirection with named pipe or TCP/IP server. And comparing to VMware, I made tests with VMware Workstation Player. That's the free version from VMware. VMware is quite slow against VirtualBox. So when you want to have a virtual machine, choose Oracle VirtualBox. So here are some references, VirtualBox, FreeDOS, and I made a tutorial how to create a VM with FreeDOS. This is when you got on my HPL side, ELPilsim on the left side, and the right side is the description, and there's the link to this program. So that there's description how to install the virtual machine, how to install FreeDOS, and so on. The great problem, or the greatest problem, is the program interchange. So you have a guest OS and you have the host system. So you know, of course, you want to transfer data from the host to the guest and from the guest to the host. When you're using a recent operating system, for example, Windows XP on the guest OS, then you have so-called tools, guest OS extensions. So you over virtual internet cards, and so that it's possible then to interchange these programs. But DOS has no chance to have any possibilities to use them. There are theoretical aspects, so you can use a .NET network support here. So in DOS are some drivers for network support, and then try to go over the internal card, network card, to a shared value, but I wasn't able to run it. Or we have, of course, in the guest OS, we have a virtual floppy drive, which is a file. Of course, you can think, okay, I'm able from the host to write this image file from the floppy, but I found no driver for 64-bit systems. So the only way I used the VHD, virtual hard disk format, is a format from Microsoft. The advantage is this floppy format, or this hard disk format, is understood by VirtualBox, and also understood by VMware. So I only created one virtual disk and can use this virtual disk in both VM systems. And furthermore, the advantage, I can mount this VHD disk to the file system of Windows, and then I could transfer with the Explorer files, and then you can unmount this file, and then you can start the emulation to start with the files then on the virtual disk. So we are talking about emulators. I talk about EMU41. Is anybody here? We have some users of the 41. Is anybody here using EMU41 in his job or somewhere? Is anybody knowing V41 and using V41?
Oh, manchmal.
Why or why not? Or why not? Or why do people say, okay, free?
I use the real
V41?
hardware. I use the real machine on my desk.
Oh, why?
I'm not a 41 man.
Okay.
I
use
So I want to talk about something special, never seen before. So only 4 people know what I'm now showing you.
Let's see.
V41, the Windows emulator, a dream become truth. V41 is an emulator for emulating 41 hardware. Main table warren follow. Native program tested with Win19 SE, Win XP, Win 7, Win 10. Supporting many modules over mod files. Import and export of folk programs over the put-get program. This is the only possibility to load programs to it. This is release V41 release 8E. Very known about the white borders here on the right and on the bottom. That's typical on Aero display, so there's some bug inside the recalculation of the necessary space. And this program version is from 2012. So I put this on my hard disk. I used the document 1LB6 4001. Ha ha ha, what is this? Added this. And the result is V41 release 9. So any suspicion?
Looks like a receipt for something that
Is it an order or a receipt document for something, isn't it?
You start supporting
I
the
can't read what it says on it.
That's clear.
It's a bug report.
On the left side we have release 9, 12 is the display. On the right side we have EL pair, set flag 15, set flag 16, and we have the trace output and the printer. Here. Consequence, we have here we have V41 with HPL connection. So what does this mean? Just remember, we have Joe Horn publishes lift disks. We have about 100 lift disks, and on these lift disks maybe hundreds or thousands of 40-watt focal programs. You have no direct access. Loading this image into EL pair and load it into emulator. Even more, it's virtual HPL, accessing or connecting a pillbox using a real disk drive, and you have access from V41 to this real disk drive. Joe Fosma tested this some weeks ago. It's working. So the release 9 changes made by me. The main implementation is of course HPL implementations. I moved the configuration settings from HK local machine to HK current user. This had some internal aspects, so it's complicated for some users to get it working, the old version. Improved the user code by handling multi-label programs and raw format files. File about question, fixed problems at read per display in connection with HPL. Thanks to Jean-François, he found the bug. Fixed the Windows client side so there's no white borders anymore. MCON's console related problems, small clicks at WaveSound are more quiet now, includes several minor fixes. Now you can use Visual Studio 2007 for compiling, so the old version was only working with Visual Studio 6. Where to get? So today you must use my page. It's not linked on the main page, so you have to write it on your piece of paper. Then you can this evening download it from this page, but Warren will tomorrow update his page with the new version.
So this is like an official V41. So Warren doesn't...
Yes, it's an official version, it's release 9, I spoke with him.
Yeah.
It's an official version, Warren used my code and published it on his website.
I think he didn't want to set more time in it, huh? Is it true?
Bitte?
He didn't want to act more time.
Yes, yeah, I asked him, I said he done some modifications, but I had said, he told me that they're so minor that he has never published these things. I personally have also some changes left, but I say, okay, it's now working, so it's ready to publish, and so we do it.
Excellent. Great.
The new installer, I exchanged the installer. The old installer was Install Shield, practically not compatible with actual operating systems anymore. So I use now NSYS, and so when you now use the installer, the target installation directory is also then getting write access and so on. So you have to do this manually and so on. So it's a complete rounded package. You may have a try, and especially HPL is now, of course, the showstopper. So you have now all possibilities with this thing, and maybe some of you may use this more often. Thank you for your attention.
I didn't understand this transformation from the HP 41 with the white lines, then a sheet of paper with something written on it, and then without...
These are, 1LB6 is the documentation of the HPL chip inside the HPL module. So this is the document with the complete internal, but I must confess, the HPL implementation I used is from Emu41. Jean-François spent in. The only thing I added the interfaces in the emulation layer of the 41.
Oh, now I understand.
And then I added, but
and by this process you also removed the white lines, but they have nothing to
yes,
do
yes,
with
of course.
Okay.
The old version has the white lines and the new version not.
Okay.
But you do see the HPIL ROM in the catalog.
Yes, it was there from the beginning,
Yeah.
but when you does this with release 8E, the emulator stopped
Yeah.
because it had no hardware. One minor point is the problem is when you edit the HPI ROM, it tries to reconnect, of course. So when you then start it and you want to play with it and you have no device or no loop at this thing, at the first time you have to wait about, when you're pressing the key, you have to wait about 3-4 seconds, and then you get the control, and then I switch to the internal loop. And then you can normally type, and when you then started, for example, pair and want to reactivate the loop, does an on-off cycle, I recognize the IDY to 23 frame, which is normally only sent at startup, and then I try to reconnect. So it's also possible to use this emulator when you have no virtual interfaces. Just give it a try.
Yeah. Really, I like V41 and it's really great it's now a new version.
So this made the stuff with the DOS box and the DOS program obsolete.
There you have to answer or ask it for maybe for 41. But for example, there's no Windows emulator for the 75, for example, so 75 is still an option for this one.
Did you try out Windows for workgroups? The TCP IP stack and so on? Did you try out, you said you had difficulties on the DOS with the network.
They have a new version that had a look into the sources or the source code changes between 7.4 but they made so many changes, so I quit. So they found something, had something found, and they changed it, and so I was glad that it's working. I think it tested. I confirmed. Bob Prosperi tested it, the new version. It was okay for him. Joachim Siebold, the author of PyELPR, had tested it. It also works for him perfectly. And Jean-François, have you tested it? Yeah. So it seemed to work. So when you have EL Pilsim version, where no DOSBox parameters inside, the first version I published of EL Pilsim, version 1.01, has no parameter settings for DOSBox anymore, because at this time I published this, it was buggy. Meanwhile, I know it's working, and now I re-added the configuration settings to the documentation. The problem is my version control system don't allow to change the documentation and let the file this on the same version, and then how should I publish the final version? When I then say it's a new version, then everybody asks me, here you say it's version 1.02, but the Excel file is still version 1.01, so I published it with under 1.01. So when you have a document from EL Pilsim without the DOSBox configuration file, just download it in the new one, and you get the documentation with the new settings.
For people who play with V41, I did it as a test once time. I took an old calculator, connected it to a little microcontroller with USB, and used it as an external keyboard to V41.
Walter, say it today. We have here a situation. You need somebody who knows virtual HPL. You need somebody HPL. You need somebody who knows C++. You must know something about HP calculators. So it was a dream for some people to say, okay, I want to have V41 with HPL. But who could make it? So I began in this, have a look, I began with this program in July. So the first versions took about, Jean-François was from the early beginning, tester, and the same about four weeks about, then we had a stable version. which was working in the HP area. So, thank you.